Today's guest is a 98-year-old World War II vet. He was gracious enough to let me into his home to tell his story, not only of what his secret to 98 was, but the most meaningful events in his life. Hope you enjoy the interview. What was the world like then in 1941, Pearl Harbor time, to where when you were 21, you were like, I want to contribute, I want to serve, I want to be a part of this?
Yeah.
What was it like?
Just a different world than what it is today. Different, absolutely different. Camaraderie, you know, all the guys that I served with overseas became my brothers.
Yeah.
And I belonged to the WWII. Still the same thing. You got love for people. Just today, I don't know, just a world of difference. So anyhow, in the meantime, I met my first wife, and
so you served for a period of time, and then 3.5 years. What was it like when we won?
When I what?
What was it like when we won? When the Allies won the war?
I was on a little island of Aoshima, right off of Okinawa.
Yeah.
And in August, and God, word spread. They dropped a bomb. Nobody knew exactly it was an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And the war was over with, and hey, we're going home, because life was miserable over there, you know.
Yeah.
And you're always in jeopardy. We slept almost every night in a foxhole.
Yeah.
And ate K rations. You know what K rations were?
No.
3 boxes. You got a bunch of boxes. That was your meals. You got a bunch of boxes. They looked like graham cracker boxes.
Yeah.
One had B for breakfast. One had D for dinner. One had S for supper. Now you could eat the S in the morning and eat the B, and that was up to you. B had a can of Spam, a little can of Spam like this. It had.
I can't believe you're 98 and you ate Spam for 3.5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Larry Burchett, and this is Life Can Change in a Moment. We've got an incredible guest today. As I see so often in the ER, in a moment, everything can change. Today we've got Bill Baratta.
Yeah.
I happened to run into Bill in the ER. 98 years old. Not too bad. You look great. You look great, period.
Still date.
Is that you still date?
Still, beautiful little redhead.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I got so many questions for you for why I wanted to have you on the show. Number one, 98 years old is pretty good and you look great. What's your secret? Number two, I'm going to list the questions and you can have at them. Number two, World War II. You're a vet. Thank you for your service. It's a different time. It's a different time now. I'm curious what the world was like then. And what's that like? Part of the great generation, and there's not a lot of you guys left, which is why I really wanted to hear your perspective. And then you started it talking about that redhead.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you have a big moment in your life. 98 years, you ought to have a couple moments. You know, to tell us about. So
in the picture, her hair is yellow. But
now, who is this here?
That's the red. That's a redhead. But when you took the picture, the hair come out yellow. She at 91, she has
this gal's 91.
91. She has her natural red hair, no coloring.
No kidding.
No coloring.
Red hair at 91.
She used to be a real red, you know, and now it's red.
She looks pretty cute to me. Is this your girlfriend?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Wilma. I've had 3 Wilmas in my life.
No kidding.
Yeah. I'll show you a picture later on another Wilma. Richest woman in town. I dated her I dated her. Actually, the picture that I'll show you, it was taken the day I left for the service. October the 15th, 1942.
Is this Wilma number 1?
No, woman number 2.
Wilma number 2.
Yeah, this is number 3. Anyhow.
So start at the beginning. You were born here.
I was born here in Madera.
In Madera, which is it's in the Central Valley of California, maybe what, 20, 30 minutes from Fresno?
Yeah.
Between San Francisco and Los Angeles.
They always say that Madera is the center of California.
Is that right?
That's what is said time and again, whether it's true or not. But I was born here, April 20, 1921. And
1921.
yeah. And went to school here.
What was the world like back then? When you were a kid?
Oh, what a difference. This is out of the country. Where I live here, this was out of the country. This is a little old town, dirt streets.
Yeah.
And
this house, did you grow up in this house?
No.
No, but this house where we're at right now
This
was
house
just country.
Was country, yeah. It was farming country. And little town, you know, the boundaries were not, the city was not even this far out. And dirt streets, one patrolman, I can still tell you, Andy Clark was our cop.
There was one cop in the town?
Yeah.
No kidding.
He
didn't need it.
Hey, the population was nothing, you know,
Yeah.
just a little
Small town.
1921. And Roy Cook was in charge of the water. He was the water master, whatever you want to call it. He had a sidekick by the name of Hannah. And Ernie Haynes maintained the roads with a grader because it was dirt. And that was it. That's the city employees.
No kidding.
And so in when I was 36, when I was 16, I developed encephalitis. That was when I was in my freshman year at the Madera High. I developed encephalitis and I was in a coma for a long period of time.
No kidding.
Yeah. And in those days, you didn't survive. They didn't have life support, you know, they had that intravenous feeding, that was it.
Yeah.
And God, I came too, but it's very seldom that you survived because your body your organs would finally break down.
Yeah.
And I did survive. And so that ended my schooling, and we lived on a big tomato farm, and God, we shipped truckloads of tomatoes out. Anyhow, so
you got encephalitis when you were 16 years old. You were in a coma for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you're just done with school. No more high school or any formal education.
No, because
how did having encephalitis affect your life?
Because it took me forever to recover. My mother found somebody in the mountains that would take me in. Maybe my appetite would, because I was like a stick.
Yeah, you lost all this weight. Could you walk?
I tried somebody in Monterey, and so that was the end of my schooling.
Yeah.
And then it was right after Pearl Harbor. 3 of us, Jimmy Talday, Bertle Peterson, and I, we decided to join the Air Corps.
And you're like how old at this time?
21.
So Pearl Harbor, which was 41, mm-hmm. December whatever, 19...
I was 20. Pearl Harbor was 41. I was born in 21.
Yeah. So you were 21. What was it like then? You know, were most people like, we should stay out of the war and...
No, we volunteered. Let me tell you about volunteering. When I get further along in this, I volunteered for everything. So the 3 of us decided to join the Air Corps. Well, Bertle joined the Naval Air Corps because it required a college education. The Army Air Corps was high school education or the equivalent.
Yeah.
So Jimmy and I went to Hammer Field, which was a Fresno Air Terminal now. And it was an Army base training B-24 pilots.
Yeah.
So we took the written exam, passed it, and...
now wait a minute. You didn't have a high school degree.
No.
But you said they required it.
No. The college education for the Naval Air Corps.
Oh, for the Navy Air Corps.
Army Air Corps, high school education, or you pass the if you pass the test.
You passed the test. Okay.
So, Jimmy and I went to the Army Air Corps, and Jimmy eventually was killed in a P-38. And
Sorry.
when I was training in El Reno, Oklahoma, when I was learning to fly, I had developed a real severe cold, which almost tended to be close to pneumonia. My doctor asked me where he could get hold of my medical records. Oh, I neglected to say, on that form, the enlistment form, down at the bottom it says, "Have you ever had a serious illness?" I put no. I'm not going to admit it, you know.
So you lied about the encephalitis because you wanted to serve.
I didn't. Yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, right. So when I was in Reno, Oklahoma, and had this bad, almost pneumonia, doctor asked me where he could get hold of my medical record, and I told him the Dearborn Hospital. When I came back that I lied, and I had first it was going to be a court martial, and I came up to them and I said, "Wait a while." So I lied, but I didn't do it to defraud the country, or I'm not a criminal. I lied to put my life up on the, you know, to
you lied because you wanted
country.
to serve in the
okay,
Army.
so they dismissed that. They said, "Okay, so we'll discharge you." Why? I said, "I passed the most stringent test to be a pilot. I am healthy as I could stay in and do something. I still contribute to this war effort."
Yeah.
All right, we'll let you stay in, but no overseas duty. Okay, whatever. So
at that point, were you going to be a pilot, and then they took that away?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there, if I was going to be a pilot, I'd have got a commission, of course. So, okay, they allowed me to stay in, but no overseas duty. So I knocked around. I got a list of 12 different bases. I went all the way to Langley Field, Richmond, Virginia, and stayed there overnight, and they shipped me back to Pocatello, Idaho, because I didn't have the qualification to go overseas. Nobody wanted me, you know. So I was in Fort Sumner, New Mexico. There, they were training pilots, for new pilots that just got their wings, how to shoot moving targets, because they had not learned the shooting part of the. And so. What they were doing, what they do, they Smith's bullets were colored yellow with crayon, you know. Jones, his bullets were purple. So when he came back, they could tell by the target who hit the target and who didn't.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And I'm a private. I had no chance of advancement because nobody wanted me. I was just
I see.
I was as low as you can get on the grade. So I wasn't there 3 months. And the armament officer called me in his office one day, and he said, "Baratta," he said, "I want you to take the shop over." Now, not too many people know this, but the people serving in the Air Corps overseas, if you completed 25 missions, you came home. Did you know that?
You were done.
Your luck has more than run over, you know. Yeah, you came home. So in that shop we had tech sergeants, staffs, bucks, and I'm a private, and I'm giving orders in the morning, you know, and I had to keep all records. And so that went on for a couple of months, and one day the armament officer called me in his office. He says, "You know, if they know that I got a private giving orders to sergeant, so what I'm going to do is jump you 2 grades every month. They're going to go from private to corporal, skip PFC. Next month, skip the buck sergeant. Then the 3rd month, skip the tech.
You're moving up.
Be a master. From the bottom, I was going to go to the top in 3 months." Then I heard of the 507 fighter group in Bruin, Nebraska that was being put together to go overseas. And I went to the flight surgeon and I talked to him like a Dutch uncle. I said, look, I explained everything. I had encephalitis. I was disqualified from any further flying. And I said, but I'm still healthy. I want to be qualified for overseas duty so I can join the 507th. Okay, you want to go that bad? So he qualified me for overseas duty. I joined the 507th fighter group. And so there went that big promotion. So I was passing up promotion like crazy. But I neglected to say, when I was first eliminated from flying, then and I asked them to let me stay in the service, they sent me to Buckley Field in Denver, Colorado, at armament school to learn armament, the firepower on an airplane, everything.
All right.
So we were all told, a class of 50, we were all told, at the end of the class, one student's going to be chosen out of the 50 to go to Yale Technical Officer Training Program, TOTP, and receive a commission in 6 weeks. Guess what? I was chosen.
No kidding.
Yeah, I got a letter I could show you. I wrote my mother. I got a letter written in 1944 that I wrote my mother. But while I'm waiting for the transfer to be made, I let bitterness get to me, turned it down.
Why did you turn it down? Why did you turn it down?
I was so bitter that I couldn't end up flying, you know.
You wanted to fly.
I wanted to fly.
Yeah.
And so I turned it down. Well, okay, then about that time was when I met my first wife.
Let me ask you this. You really wanted to serve.
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
You want to do your share of the war effort. Look, they were going to discharge me. When they found out that I had encephalitis, they were going to discharge me. And I said,
you kept coming back for more.
I told them, I said, so I can't fly. So you think that the encephalitis affected my flying ability? Which I agree, because I was in a coma the coma is a headache that just didn't quit. I mean, you had inflammation of the brain is what you had.
Do you feel like you were not physically able to fly, or you think you could have done it?
I felt I was capable. They felt like
you think you could have done it.
Yeah, they felt like that.
What was the world like then in 1941, Pearl Harbor time, to where when you were 21, you were like, I want to contribute, I want to serve, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Just a different world than what it is today. Different, absolutely different. Camaraderie, you know. All the guys that I served with overseas became my brothers.
Yeah.
And I belonged to the VFW. Still the same thing. You got love for people. Just today, I don't know. Just a world of difference. So anyhow, in the meantime, I met my first wife, and
so you served for a period of time,
3.5 years.
3.5 years. What was it like when we won?
When I what?
What was it like when we won? When the Allies won the war?
I was on a little island of Aoshima, right off of Okinawa.
Yeah.
And in August, and God, word spread. They dropped a bomb. Nobody knew exactly it was an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And the war was over with, and hey, we're going home, because life was miserable over there, you know.
Yeah.
And you're always in jeopardy. We slept almost every night in a foxhole.
Yeah.
And ate K rations. You know what K rations were?
No.
3 boxes. You got a bunch of boxes. That was your meals. You got a bunch of boxes. They looked like graham cracker boxes.
Yeah.
One had B for breakfast. One had D for dinner. One had S for supper. Now you could eat the S in the morning and eat the B, and that was up to you. B had a can of Spam. a little can of Spam like this. It had.
I can't believe you're 98 and you ate Spam for 3.5 years.
And D had a can of cheese. Boy, stopped up. I had to take more mineral oil. Anyhow.
You're too young to be constipated.
Yeah. So then when the war ended, they took everybody and put them on Okinawa, at de-embarkation center. That's where you wait for transportation home. And
We tell a lot of stories now about World War II because the axis with Hitler and Mussolini, like, these were really evil historical figures. And it was men like you on these countries that beat them. Beat the bad guys. I mean, these were real bad guys.
Yeah.
And you came home and you guys were heroes, you know, in a way that I don't know that we've had heroes like that since. The wars since World War II, I don't think have been the same, you know, the same gravity, the same victory. And so I just wonder what it was like for you to have contributed and participated to that, to have won and to have come home to a very grateful nation.
Yeah.
That must have felt great.
Grateful. Well, let me continue the story. So we waited for.
Right, sorry to interrupt.
We waited for transportation. And there was thousands of guys waiting for transportation. Debarkation centers, what I told you, that's where you wait for transportation home.
Yeah.
And so I'd ask guys, how long have you been here? Oh, I've been here since the war ended. So I went to the headquarters, because in my days I could talk, I tell you.
Sounds like it. Huh? Sounds like you could.
I went to this, I tell you, I talked my way in. How many people could tell the Army what direction you want to go into? They allowed me to stay in when they were going to turn me loose, and anyhow. So I went to this headquarters, this deembarkation center, and I don't recall what I told them. And the next day, a guy comes by with a roster, called out my name, said, report back over there. They gave me my service record. Do you know what a service record is?
No.
That is a record of everything. If you took a pill, it goes down in that record.
Oh, wow.
If you go to the emergency, if you get any shots, that's your service record. They gave me my service record, and this is unheard of. My buddies, no way. An enlisted man does not see his service record. They gave me my service record on a little Class A priority, and they said, find your way back to California. When you do, report to Marysville, Camp Beale for separation. I hitchhiked home from Okinawa. The first flight, every unit has what they call ATC, Air Transport Command. That's the airplanes that carry troops, supplies, whatever.
Okay.
And I would go to the different ATC. The first shot was from Okinawa to the Philippines. And when I got there, I bummed a ride to Guam. But I'm going towards Australia. And I want to go towards Hawaii. So I kind of veered off to the left. I got Kwajalein, Eniwetok, Johnston, and Hawaii, and then I made it home. But I hitchhiked home from I tell you, my tour of service was
anything but ordinary.
Yeah. And let's get back to my wives. When I was stationed in Dallas, Texas, I met this girl, and she was loose to begin with. You know, she always
loose.
Yeah, promiscuous. Yeah. But I fell in love with her. So we were going to marry when I got back. And you know, I told you, I spent almost every night in foxholes. And you're sitting there hungry, cold, and you're thinking, your mind goes back, and you're thinking, I wonder if my fiance is being true, you know. So when I got back, I didn't have a car. My brother Jack said, God damn it, take my Ford and go see her. So I drove to Texas.
You came back to California and then went back to Texas to see this gal. What was her name?
Betty.
Betty.
But let me tell you one. Let me go back a little bit further. So I went to Marysville, Camp Beale, got separated. Well, it's way off the beaten path, you know. And I got to hitchhike home. But the 99 was over there.
Yeah.
And so I paid this guy $10. He got about 4 guys, and he took us to the highway, dumped us off on the highway in Sacramento. So I'm sitting there, I'm standing there on this parking lot of this grocery store on 99, trying to get a ride. And this couple drives into the grocery store and they parked. Then the guy walks back to me and he said, "You just get back?" Or, "Yeah." I said, "I spent time in the Pacific," and he went back and talked to his wife. And 2 of them came back. He said, "We want to take you home." Oh, he asked me where I lived. Mm-hmm. I said, "Madeira." He said, "We'd like to take you home." Oh, I said, "No, I'll find a ride. I'll be okay." No, drove me home from Sacramento.
Wow.
Met my mother when we got home, you know. That's how they honored you.
That's how people were. I mean, that's from Sacramento to Madeira. That's 3 or 4 hour drive.
Yeah,
I mean, that's quite a way to say thank you.
Respected, you know. So now back to my wife.
Wow.
So I got Jack's car and drove to Texas, and
keep talking.
That night I asked her. I said, "Were you a good girl while I was gone?" And she's, "No." "Oh," I said, "how many times did you slip up?" She thought, and she said, "I don't remember." That's when I should have walked off. And I did. I walked off, and she grabbed me. "Please marry me, please marry me, I'll make it up to you." And I ended up married 16 years to her, and she was having kids by other men.
Wait a minute.
So then,
you say that again. You were married for, this is your first wife, Betty. You were married for 16 years, and what happened?
And she had children by other men.
When you were married?
Yeah, absolutely. While I'm busting my rear, I told you I acquired a nice vineyard, paid for, cabin up in the mountains, new equipment. I had new tractors, and just.
How did you figure that out?
Well, I can show you pictures. Was
there a moment when you figured out that your wife of 16 years had kids with somebody else?
Yeah, I can.
When was that moment in your? When do you? You don't have to show me.
Yeah.
When did you figure that out?
Because this girl here did not look like any of the others, by no means. And I always suspected that Gina was somebody else's child.
Was there like a day where you figured it out and you're like,
no,
this
in
is...
time. Every time I'd see Gina, as she was growing, she was born in 1960. Every time I'd see Gina, more in my mind. And so we had DNA tests made, and I got a certificate on that refrigerator door. I'm not the father. And
what was it like when you read that?
Oh, my world came to an end. And you think I'm going to keep a woman like that? And so I told you, then we separated, and I beat her out of the property, and I sold the farm, and so getting back to my second wife.
So where did you go from there?
I stayed on the farm until I married Donna, then I sold the farm.
Tell me about your second wife.
So Donna was a girl that when we were young, we just figured out, she remembered we were together Pearl Harbor Day. And she might have been about 17, something like that, and I'm probably 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, I was about 21. Beautiful, precious, good girl. And that was the whole thing. She was a good girl, so I got rid of her.
When you dated when you were younger,
yeah,
she was a good girl.
Yeah.
Why'd you get rid of the good one?
I'm looking for girls, playgirls. I'm not looking for good girls. That comes later in life. So I dumped her. Just never went back. I mean, she lived across the street practically from where I did, here in town.
So you dumped Donna when you were young, and you went off to the service.
Yeah, yeah. And so when I got rid of Betty, I had not divorced her yet because I was beating her out of the property. That was in '62. Donna, in those days, the Madera Tribune listed the divorce actions. And in the paper that day, she said I worked that day, and then that night after supper, I sat down to read the paper, and on the divorce action, William Baratta versus Betty Baratta.
No way.
She said, I said to myself, oh, I'm single, and he's going to be single. Yeah.
So Donna saw your divorce in the paper.
Yeah.
And what was her deal? She was single, but had she been married or kids?
Yeah, she'd been married, and she had one daughter who is now my daughter because my children are worthless. And she was a widow. He died in '61.
So she was a widow and had one daughter.
Yeah. And
so she saw you in the divorce paper.
Yeah. And said to herself, gee, I'm single and he's going to be single. But did she make any moves? So, okay.
Probably. I don't think she did.
Huh? No.
I'm going to say no.
No. That's not Donna's. She was the most precious, perfect woman. Oh, we had the best 43 years. Held hands all the time. Went to bed holding hands. We lived, you talk about true love. And so,
tell me more about that true love stuff.
So,
tell those of us who aren't sure if it's real. Talk to us about it.
Being Italian, I'm always a good manager. So I always have plenty of funds. And this house here, when I married her, she lived on the next street towards the end. And I spent, I'd say something like $3,000 or $4,000 on the house that she lived in because I was going to live there too.
Yeah.
Put a roof on it, changed the air conditioner, did work in the bathroom, one thing and another. Then one day, we're coming by here, and there's a for sale sign out in front, and she said, oh, I've always loved that house, and it's for sale. Let's stop and look at it. So we came and looked at it, and found out what they wanted for it. I said, I'll take it. She wanted it, she got it.
Bought her house.
And yeah.
So wait a minute. So how did you guys get together? You said she saw you in the divorce papers.
Right.
And then how did you get together?
One day I'm in town and she was on her break, coffee break. And we met crossing the street and said hello. And I turned around and looked at that beautiful body. And she has the face of an angel. I'll show you the pictures of when we married. And I knew she was going to be on a break. She was on a break or something. So I turned around and followed her. She went in a restaurant, and the minute I went in there, she said, "Do you hear from Betty and the kids?" Because she was keeping up with my activities, and I said, "Yeah." And we talked for a little while. And I wanted to ask her for a date, but I thought this is going to be her time to tell me, get lost,
Because you dumped her.
Yeah, being I dumped her, it's going to be her turn. But I thought, if you don't ask, you're not going to find out. So I said, would you like to go to supper some night after work? Oh, I'd love to. So we went to Fresno, had lunch one time, and then we went to there was a honky-tonk named DeMarquis. We went to this honky-tonk at DeMarquis and had a drink, danced a couple of dances, brought her home, walked her to the door. She turned around, she said, you can come back anytime you like. I was in like fleeing, but yeah. And we told me years later, she hugged my neck I don't remember if it was daytime or night. She said, I want to tell you, I never got over loving you, even though you dumped me.
Oh, wow. That's really sweet.
Oh, but she was the best. She was just, oh, my kids, because I sent for them every summer. They were in Virginia.
Yeah.
And every summer they were on United, when school was out, they were on United Airlines and they spent the summer here. My kids used to tell Betty, their mother, well, we're going to go to California and spend time with our California mom.
Yeah.
Because Donna treated them just like it was hers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the kind of person she was.
You and Donna were together 43 years?
Yeah. She's been dead 12 years now. I go see her every week. Maybe you didn't notice all the flowers I got out there. I go see her she's in a mausoleum. I wasn't going to put her in the ground. She's in a mausoleum where I can walk up and talk to her.
Still miss her?
Oh, every night I talk to her. Every night when I go to bed, I pat her side of the bed. I miss you, Mama, and I love you. And
she's been gone how long?
12 years. She was,
98, you're still going.
yeah, not happy.
What do you mean?
What the hell kind of a life? So I got kids that couldn't care less about me. I had my gallbladder taken out at 95. One of them brought me home. Dr. Yakamura did it laparoscopic.
Yeah.
Took my gallbladder. He emphasized somebody should spend at least 24 hours with you.
Yeah.
I'm 95 when it was done.
Yeah.
Clovis community, same thing. Somebody should spend 24 hours with you. Brought me home, dumped me so she'd go sleep with a boyfriend. Dumped me off like a, you know, the kind of love that Betty had and her kids have got? The screw you love, you know?
Is this you?
Yeah.
Woo-hoo!
What?
You pretty slick. What are those boots you got on?
I wasn't ugly.
I'm not saying you're ugly, but I wanted to get a picture of that.
That was taken just before we married. And here's Donna and her daughter, my daughter, Karen. She looks after me, I tell you what. She makes me toe the line.
She's still around?
Oh, Karen? Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's the one that has everything down when I die, you know. My kids don't know where my income is, nothing. If Karen was to die before me, my estate will never be settled because my kids don't know nothing. They the most. You want to hear the best of it? One of them asked me what side of the war I fought on. Unbelievable.
Wow.
They don't have it. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So, I think a lot of people watching this want to know how did you make it to 98?
Because I live good.
What's that mean?
I don't abuse alcohol. I don't smoke. I got a ton of pills. You know, I fell down, broke a rib one time, and went to the VA, and they took X-rays, and this was 2 years ago, and took X-rays and got some oxycodone.
Yeah.
You
didn't take it.
No pills. No, I don't. I'm trying to ease the tension. A couple of nights ago, I think I discussed that with you at the hospital.
Yeah.
I took a 1 milligram melatonin. Next morning, I felt like I felt the results. I felt the.
You didn't like it?
No.
Side effects?
Yeah.
You were telling me you wanted to try melatonin during the day, chill you out a little bit.
Yeah, I did.
Did you try that?
No.
Yeah.
Because I do drive, you know.
Okay, so to get to 98, you didn't abuse alcohol or smoke.
I work like I used to do everything, you know, garden, do my yard. This year, I haven't done. And kiddingly, I tell people, they say, well, how come you start having your yard done? I said, I'm going to start acting my age.
It's 98.
And
it's probably time.
You know, it's not like Donna kept it, but it's not. Do you see the glitter? You see the dishes are all done? I cook 3 good meals a day.
I am very impressed with how good you take care of yourself, how well you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
98, I think that's incredible.
I ought to dig up a results of a blood test. Other than what I got here, this sinus, that you ought to see my cholesterol, my thyroid, my liver.
All that stuff looks good.
Perfect.
Did your parents live long? Your mom and dad? I'm wondering, do you have really good genes?
And my brothers died young. My sister did too.
How old were your parents when they died?
My dad had a stroke, so he died at about 87.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
How about your mom?
She was heavy. Jack smoked, and both Jack and Guido smoked and drank heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like my little bit of wine. Occasionally I have a beer. Time and again, I'll have a beer, and half of it ends up in the fridge. I cap it, and I remember time and again, Don and I'd be working out in the flowers, and honey, you want to split a beer? That's how big a boozer we are. We split a beer.
You guys just didn't drink much.
Yeah.
Did you exercise or eat well? Did you just eat whatever you want?
I worked my ass off, you know. And I still do. You don't think I fix a good, every night I'll have a meat, veggie, salad or whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't think for a minute that sitting here is going to get it done over there.
Yeah.
You got to have to get up and go to do it, you know?
Yeah. You keep moving.
Yeah.
What did you do for work? Very active, what you did for employment?
Yeah, farmed.
You were a farmer. Mm-hmm. Did you say raisins?
Yeah. God, I had a nice shop. I had a beautiful place. And I had a nice shop, and I still have most of the equipment, welders and stuff, you know. And I used to love to get in my shop and build. I built the raisin loader, the wagons, and I built a lot of my tools, and learned it on my own. I didn't go to school to learn to weld, and I still got the torches, and the reason for that emblem, that duck trying to get up. The airstrip we had on Aoshima, so we had P-47s. The airstrip we had in Aoshima was so short that they used to say, if we got off the ground, the mission was complete. That's, yeah. And so you can see the emblem is trying to get off the ground. As a matter of fact, the pilots were complaining that they were overloading, because they had 8 machine guns, and look at all the rounds of ammunition for 8 machine guns. Then you had you got wing tanks, extra gas, and underneath the belly you would have a 500-pound bomb. And the pilots were complaining about too much weight, can't get off the ground. So Republic, who built P-47 down south, they sent their test pilot, #1 test pilot. So he was going to show them how to do it. Went over the bank.
No kidding.
Yeah.
The test pilot couldn't even get it off the ground.
No. So anyhow, I could have had a here I only had a grammar school education. If things would have went right, I would have been commissioned twice as an officer. I take pride in that, you know. Yeah, it only shows because my IQ is surprisingly good.
Sounds like you use that brain in your day.
Dites-moi pourquoi la vie est belle. Dites-moi pourquoi la vie est gaie. Dites-moi pourquoi, chère mademoiselle, est-ce que vous m'aimez?
That's lovely.
That was my big moment.